Hey guys, it's Z. Today we are doing part 2 of coding motors on Python. In the last video, we only learned how to move motors one at a time, as well as looking at speeds. In this video, we will learn how to move two motors at the same time. It is highly recommended that you watched part 1 since I will not be reviewing the basics of coding motors. Now, let's continue our coding. Okay, now that we've become familiar with single motor code, now let's learn how we can use the steer pair and tank pair motor classes. So if you're familiar with EV3, you know that these two are slightly different. So while both commands move both of the two motors that you're driving with in your robot, the steer pair has an extra value of coding, which is the value of steer. So the steer affects if the robot will drive forward or if it will steer or drift a different way. So if you want to steer straight, the value for steer will be 0, so the standard thing is 0 if you want to go straight. Negative values for steering make the robot go left, while positive values make the robot go right. With this knowledge, let's code with steer pair, the steer pair variable. So like before, we'll put our variable, so let's put steer pair, boom. And then we put on for degrees, because let's just code with degrees. And then we put our parentheses like normal. So unlike the single motor code, the values in order are the steer value, the speed of both motors, so the speed of both motors is one value, not two, and then the degrees. So let's do this. So we can put steer, so the first value is always steer. Let's steer it for, let's make it negative 25, so it'll make it go left. Then we put the speed of both motors, so both motors will go at a speed of, let's say, 75. We'll make the degrees, let's say, 360. And then this is just extra. Afterwards, you can make it rest, so we can make it like wait or something like that. Afterwards, by consecutively putting a semicolon, and then the sleep command, we do that. And then we can put sleep for, let's say, 1 second. So there, we have our steer pair code. We can also make the robot turn in a certain spot for a certain amount of time. Remember how I was saying we could also change this for seconds? So we can do that here. So this replaces the degrees or rotation things for seconds. So here are a few ways to do this. So say we wanted to turn in one spot for a certain amount of seconds. So it can be like steer underscore pair. Let's press tab dot on underscore 4, and instead of degrees or rotations, we'll put seconds. Then we put our parentheses. Let's make the steering equal 100, so it's gonna be going right. And then we put the speed, which is 40. Let's put 40, and then we can make it go for how many seconds? 3 seconds. And then let's also put the sleep thing. Just because we want to. So there we have it. If we want to move it in one spot for a certain amount of seconds. Now that we have learned the steer pair function, we can finally go on to our last part of the lesson, which is the tank pair variable. Like the steer pair command, it moves both motors. The difference is now that we do not have the steer value, so we're not going to have this value anymore. And there isn't just one value of speed for both motors, so we now have two values for two motors. So it's more flexible when it comes to the two speeds of the motors. When you're coding, if you make the two speeds different in the tank pair code, it'll make the robot turn. So say you made the speed of the left motor higher than the right. Since the left speed is greater, your robot will now go left since it's more dominant. And also, if it's the same speed, it'll go straight. And that's basically the same thing as if the steering is 0. So really, you can use both pairs when you want to turn or just go straight with both motors. It really depends on your preference. So let's code for it now. So let's do the tank pair. So let's tank pair, then we put tab, and then we want it to be on what we want it to be on for. So we put, let's say, on for degrees. Then we have the values. So the values go in this order. So we have the left speed. So we have left underscore speed, because you can't really put spaces when you're putting these. So you put left speed is equal to, let's say, 50. Then second, we have the right speed. So we have right underscore speed. Let's say that equals 75. So now that'll make the robot turn right. And then we have our last value, which is the degrees or rotations or seconds that you want it to be. Since it's degrees, it'll be degrees. So let's make it go, let's say, 300 degrees. So there, we have coded it for tank pair. So now it'll go right, since the right is greater, has greater speed, and it'll go for 300 degrees. Let me also show you the code if we want it to be just going straight for both of them. So let me do steer pair first. So steer pair on 4 degrees. So if we just want it to go straight, let's just put steering equals 0, because if it's 0, it'll go straight. The speed for both of them, let's put 50, and then we'll put it for this many seconds. So it's 180 seconds. So let's make something equivalent to this, but it's now in like the tank pair. So it's going to be exactly equal to this. So except it's tank pair. So let's put tank pair on 4 degrees. We're not going to have steering. We're going to have the left speed. And since we want it to be like the same as this, because we want to show how you can do the same thing with both pairs. So the speed will be 50. The right speed will also be 50, so it goes straight. And then it'll also go 180 degrees. So even though these two codes are slightly different, they both do the same thing. It depends on which pair you want to use. So you're basically finished with all the things you need to know about motors and moving. Just if you want to, or actually I kind of recommend this, put some comments on your code so you know what's happening. And also to make it less cluttered. So remember that if we put a hashtag, that'll act as a comment and it will not affect your code. So what do we know about this piece of code? So we know the left motor will go at a speed of 50 for 180 degrees. And so even though the comments don't really affect your code, it makes your code much cleaner and you know what's happening. So I'm gonna do this for all of the codes. So I've added all of my comments, as you can see. All of this green text, that's all the comments. And so this makes it easier not only for me, but also for everyone else who wants to know what's happening in my code. It's just so much easier, and it looks so much more organized than before. We have all our comments, we have all of our code, and also, I'm not going to be showing you how to download the code in this video since I reviewed it in the last video. Make sure you download this code to see if it did work how you wanted it to. And if you have any questions, and you need to troubleshoot or anything like that, you can comment below or you can email us asking questions about this. And so that's basically it. Awesome, you have finally learned how to move the robot with motors, which is arguably one of the most important things you need to learn when coding. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel for more on our 2020 to 2021 FLL season, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!